Stangiabilisco here. It is 9 January 2018, and I have a book next to me on my side table here in my upstairs office entitled The McGraw-Hill Encyclopedia of Personal Computing, copyright 1995. I wrote this book when I lived in South Beach, Miami, during 1992, 93, and 94, and it was published, I guess, in 1995. Quite a while ago. I guess that'd be now 22 years ago. But in this book, on pages 228 and 229, there's an article entitled Computer Over-Reliance. This whole book is a brick, probably 1,300 pages long, 8.5 by 11-inch format. I recall very well when I wrote that book, I told the publisher I'd have it on their desk by such and such a date, about a year and a half away from the time that I got the contract, and by golly, it was on their desk by that time. Well, of course, it was a printed book. It was written on a computer that used DOS, the Disk Operating System. I believe it had the capability of working Windows 3.1, but I never used that. I used a program called XyWrite, X-Y-Write. It was a disk operating system program. Very primitive by today's standards, and yet this particular article seems more apropos than ever for today. We rely too much on computers today, far more than we did back then. There was very little on the internet back in 1992, 93, 94. The internet was in its infancy. Now it practically rules. Interconnectedness, hackers, espionage, cyber warfare, all of these ideas were nothing more than fantasies of the imagination back in those years. 1992, 1990, that would be 25 or so years ago now. Well, let's see, computerized madness. There's subtitles to it. How it alters our attitudes. What the solution is? Well, basically it's back up your stuff. Back up your stuff. Back up your stuff. And those that, of course, also applies today, but more than that. Increasingly, I'm becoming disillusioned with computers and the internet in general. Offline computers are one thing, online computers are quite another. But I would venture to say that in the time since I wrote that article, it seems like a prophecy now. It seems like some kind of a prophetic vision of the future. But more than that, I would venture to say that now it has led to a situation in which we, as a society and as a world, have figuratively built our house on the sand. And the winds came, and the rains fell, and that house collapsed, and great was the fall of it. Does that sound familiar? Well, it doesn't have to be that way, but I fear, and I'm very concerned, that in fact, computer over-reliance and too much trust in the things is going to lead world society to a catastrophe This looks like an early hurricane warning. The cyber distant warning system. The cyber time distant warning system in action. Whatever the abbreviation for that is, you figure. But I was just picking up this brick today and reading that article. The McGraw-Hill Encyclopedia of Personal Computing. If you can find a copy still around, check it out. I believe that initially it actually outsold in Japan as compared with the United States. That is to say, I think maybe even overall, the book sold more copies in Japan than it did in the United States. Do the Japanese know something we don't? I don't know. They're not telling. Stan Gibilisco's signing off. Until next time, so long.